There's quite a lot of short aggressive selling today at 32, which is now on side. You can see that selling just here. If you join the dots, why they're selling there. And if you look at the size, it's obviously someone who knows what's going on and they've sold it what effectively is a great price relative to where the market's performed. This was the start of maybe a sell-off, not in the big picture, but in the short term. And notice that after the pre-pro period, see how the direction changes. And so if you think about this player and their size and the timing of it, you can understand that that is someone who knows what they're doing. So that's joining the dots about the size and the timing and the location. This reaction down looks like it's in response to just some stuff about Japan not intervening with their FX rates. And there's something else here as well, divergence between here and here at a key level. So using multiple points of evidence, that was never a long trade. So the next playbook trade is, can we get through here? So that transition that I just deleted, I think that that might be broken now. And so it's potentially a trap because I've just removed it. So there's a transition that's now gone. So that in itself is nothing. It's about joining all the dots. So there's a transition that may be gone, in which case we get the playbook trade. So there's a shoulder, I've just taken it, a short, so it's on side. So this is the playbook trade I've just been talking about, and the conviction to do it isn't just that it's the playbook trade, it's about joining some of those dots with the bearishness because we can't get up near the transition. There's another sort of shoulder just below. So that's a spot to short if you're not already short. Here's a shift, aggressive, right? See how the market kept going up into it, this time not. So that is an absolute change. The good thing about that is if that's valid, a switch from this aggressive buying to, whoa, things have changed, then we're going to catch out people wanting to buy in these areas. So potentially this is an absolute monster short. Why? Because this is such a powerful concept, passive versus aggressive. And if others haven't picked up on it, it helps us out. Because what do we know about this week? It's just been this unbelievable push to the upside, hasn't it? Do you know how many traders are just going to look for a pullback to get long? Heaps. Okay, so we could have a big trade here. And you know when it started? At the post pre-pro, right? That's when the shift happened. And I get back, so joining the dots, remember that seller I told you about? See how they know? That in isolation without all the other things, whoopee-doo. But once you start to see it plus the other things, then you start to see how that actually is a really important piece of evidence. Now, could I be wrong with this narrative? Absolutely. That's why we have a framework with which to engage in the market, to allow for me to be wrong. But I'm not taking profits here because there's too much to suggest there's a big whopping short, which is counter to what everything is showing us on the big view charts, isn't it? So we're currently within the holding. So being able to line up a whole bunch of stuff. Another big factor in the bunch of stuff is we've got a huge playing field, massive one. So there's a few spots I've said we've been able to get short. So we know why there's a likely pause here. It's either or a combination of the long inventory and the... So this is like evidence gathering along the way. If this market was going to be aggressively bought up, where would buyers step in? So this area here, they'd step in at the edge here. They haven't. See that? So this is evidence supporting the continuation of a move down. This also shows you that most of the business from yesterday, that's offside. So there's a couple of things in here that are important that support the short trade. Wild, isn't it? Now, I came across that because when I'm on side, I'm trying to look for stuff to get me out or things that are counter to the rationale for being in it. And rather than finding the reason to get out, I found one to actually stay with it. Where is expansion exactly? 16.5, 17, around there. Okay, so our Singapore covering move is actually continued selling. You can see that we started to get into liquidation. I've left a runner, a bit more than a runner, but I've taken a good whack off. And the reason why I've got more than a runner is because of the scenario that I had put forward. So, you know, I might get that portion of it wrong because remember also it's degrees of right. I might not have it exactly right. I might only have, you know, I'm talking about a big move. Maybe it's only a semi-big move, you know. But clearly, everything's changed, hasn't it? Look at all of this big liquidation. It uses up a ton of fuel. So I said expansion was about 16.5, 17. The low has been 17. So there you go, expansion. Just it's such a powerful tool that we have at our disposal. Okay, so we're through our 17. Beautiful. Okay, now this is So I took some money here because I don't know whether or not we can hold this. So I took 60% off into 17, 20% front running, and I got another 20 running. That might be a market maker there trying to get a feel for what participants want to do. It's like, do people want to buy here or not? Well, at this stage, they don't. So this to me is the market maker trying to find out what other participants want to do. So they're effectively asking the question that we want to know. Okay, so the market makers now said, well, no one has come to the party. Let's see if we can make it more attractive. And they might want the market up here. We don't know. So this is an invitation to see if the market will accept doing business here. Wouldn't be going short where we are. This has got every look of we're going to pop up for a bit, hasn't it? I just mentioned what's different about it. So I'm going to take some more money, unfortunately. But this is what managing a trade is about. Wow, look at that. Now, that's absolutely changed things, hasn't it? But can you see how we were already observing the changes? It's a ton of business. The other thing too is, where I put expansion, and you can see it, have a look how the market has changed since. See what happens post-expansion? It's such a different market behavior, isn't it? Okay, I've got flat, and the reason being, clearly the environment's changed. And I'm not just talking about the shape of the chart, it's about how the participants are engaging. Okay, I'm back on the short side. I'll just show you my executions there of the profit taking. So this is the first area, as I mentioned, this was 60% off. That was another 20, and then I split the last 20 in half. That's getting flat, and I've basically just got back in where I got flat. And that's on side. This is not the same size as how I initially went in. This is the same size as this position here. So I'm looking at re-engaging this position to get down to the predetermined areas that we spoke about. So I've just basically gone back in once I have seen the key area that we were monitoring hold up. Very small cushion, so I should be able to avoid any sort of heartache here, given that it's already in my favor. And that obviously helps being able to manage the downside of trades when you get them to move on side very quickly, which is a big part of what we do, not take heat.